What's going on, guys? It is the Dugout Dialogue Podcast. It is Jess, and we are ready for another episode. I was going to record this yesterday, but life happens, and so now we're recording today, and we're not that far behind. So if you know the phrases here, we say "fuck Dave" to start every show, even though we love us some Dave. So baseball is, we are 2 weeks away, 2.5 weeks away from some post-season timing, y'all. October 3rd, when the postseason officially starts. And we have so much going on, different stuff being coming to light, different news. We have teams starting to seal their deal, putting a stamp on that postseason ticket to ride the ride and join the show. And I'm going to be honest, the Cubs are not one of them. We're even out of the wild card race. If anybody saw the series that the Braves just played against the Marlins over the weekend, Marlins kicked some ass. And I say that to say the Braves also punched their ticket first. They're still, I think, last I checked, like 15 games up in their division. So they are taking their time. Everybody's worried about them postseason. And the truth is, I'd rather them. I don't know what that was. The truth is, I would rather the Braves take the rest of this month to don't lose all your games, but also rest everyone. Things are changing daily. And so as far as the National League goes, let's just do a rundown of the National League so we get that kind of out of the way. So as far as the National League goes, Braves obviously clinched their division and have home field advantage. Even to this point, Marlins definitely kicked their behinds, but they're still only the Phillies are 14 games back. Still, with those losses, still 14 games back is their next closest rival in the NL East. NL West was the Dodgers. I think that's a given. As much as I see some good stuff from the Diamondbacks as they're starting to come back again, kind of come into that talk again, especially for wild card. They're still 14 games back in their division in the NL West. So Dodgers clinched their division, but I'm going to be honest with you, they're not going anywhere. I still think they're one of the most overrated teams in the National League. They just are. But I think it's just out of the franchise that they make it all the time, that they're pretty consistent, that people hype them up. But what that doesn't always take into account is for all these years, the teams that they have been playing. They're not the strongest division or, in the National League. NL Central is still kind of being fought out. Right now, both the Cubs and the Reds are 6 games back from the Brewers. So Brewers are in first for the NL Central. We'll see what happens. So the Cubs for their last 10 are 2-8. And they're on a 5-game losing streak. So that is where I'm saying I think the Cubs are kind of running out of steam. They could turn it around. They have been known to turn it around. But as far as division-wise, I don't think they will. You ever say something that just hurts deep in your soul? That's one of those things, especially when you lose out to the Brewers. But I will say, as a Cubs fan, it is very nice to look at the division and see the Cardinals in dead ass last. Fucking Cards fans. But back to the big talk. And the big talk is the American League. And that's the one we said we were really going to probably have to start watching. Now, let's see here. So now there are two. Oh, I take that back. So I was looking at this thing. Braves and Dodgers do not have home field advantage yet. Right now they just clinch their division. Now the AL has been pretty interesting. So we'll start at the top. AL Central, which if you don't know who's in the Central, it's the Twins, Cleveland, Detroit, the White Sox, and Kansas City Royals. That's the Central Division for the American League. Right now, we're looking at the Twins and Guardians kind of battling it out. But the Guardians, Cleveland, they're 7 games back. So we'll see. My strong gut for the Central is that the Twins are going to take it, which I'm okay with. I'm okay with the Sox. They've been a disaster. And that's more of a in-depth baseball talk, not a cover the bases so you know and you could be caught up on like playoff stuff. But I will be surprised to see what happens next year with the White Sox. They're going to be a team that like I can confidently say next season I'm going to be watching how their clubhouse turns out. I'm going to be watching how their players turn out, who they decide to go with as far as staffing. But I think that's where it's at now. So we're looking at Twins for Central, AL East. And I'm looking at this in real time, guys, because the way these games and games back and how you accrue more and stuff depends on who wins, who loses, who's home, who's away, right? All those things factor into this all if you don't know that already, which I would hope most do. But I find in talking baseball with people, a lot of people don't know how that all works, that you earn more winning at home than you do away. And so to see that, it kind of helps paint a better picture. So for the AL East, we're talking Orioles, Tampa Bay, Blue Jays, Yankees, and Red Sox. Yankees, Red Sox, they're out of it. They're not involved in any of this. They're not, non-consequential. Red Sox, inconsequential. Toronto was one that we talked about early in the season that maybe had potential, and I think they had the talent there. I think they just showed up a little too late to the game. But the two teams that have a very viable, they're the ones duking it out, are the Baltimore Orioles and the Tampa Bay Rays. Tampa Bay Rays are 2.5 games back. And so when they talk about this, what they'll say is that a team has won a berth to the BERTH to the playoffs. And what that means is like they're right there. They're like on the bed of it. They're on dock. So like if you look up the technical term, which I did because I wanted to make sure I was explaining it correctly, it's the ship's allotted place at a dock. So they have a place. But it's undecided. So those are the two teams that are like, they have it, right? And so Orioles found out on Sunday that they had that. Same with Tampa, I believe, if I remember correctly. So what that is saying is that, and again, when I give you guys this information, I really do want it to be accurate. You get people who are talking out their ass, and that is not going to be me. So while I'm used to having the boys, you're just going to have to deal with me pulling this stuff up. Real time conversation. So yeah, AL wild card teams. Tampa Bay, they're in the wild card. They're done. Like they're 9.5 games up from Seattle Mariners. And it's just, it is what it is. Now Tampa Bay does play Toronto on October 1st. October 1st. What is this? Oh my gosh. Sorry, brain trying to compute. It's not. So now let's see here. So they'd have the wild card stuff going on. Sorry. I may have told y'all. This is October 1st. That's not right. Postseason games start October 3rd. So I don't know what that is. We're going to look this up real quick, y'all. Do you think I could? It would help. You know what would help is if I looked at the right stuff. So right now, Tampa Bay Rays are playing what you would call it. So their last regular season game. This is a weird stat thing that I'm looking at. Their last regular season game is October 1st. Postseason does start October 3rd. Okay. So Orioles, good to go. They officially have, so they've clinched a playoff berth, meaning they have a playoff spot somewhere. They're either going to be in the wild card or they're going to be in postseason, clinch their division. I still think the Orioles are going to clinch their division. They're playing like they want it. They're playing like they want it. They're on a 3-game win streak where the Tampa Bay Rays are on a 2-game losing streak. And I think that's how that one for the AL East, that is how that is going to play out. AL Central, we already talked about. We'll see how that goes. Twins is my guess as far as clinching that division. And then we have the AL West being fought out over by the Astros and the Seattle Mariners, which is surprising. The Rangers are still in there. Now, the thing that separates them is the Rangers are on a 4-game losing streak, and we kind of are seeing this happen in the wake of Scherzer not coming back. Now, because Scherzer is a pitcher, I'm going to say this as frankly as I can. That shouldn't be a deciding factor in whether this team wins or not. Look at the Braves. The Braves win in spite of or despite of who is pitching. But do I think that kind of brought down some of that morale that could have been pushing the Rangers and keeping them moving forward? 1,000,000%. So I just hope somebody knocks the Astros out, is really what it boils down to. And if you want to know why I dislike the Astros so much, it literally has everything to do with Altuve and how he shows zero to little remorse for things that he has done. And I don't think somebody like that should be allowed in the league. You're going to find as we continue to grow this podcast and into next season and we get more into talks about why I like or dislike players, I can tell you this, the stats don't impress me because obviously you're good if you made it, right? If you made it to the majors, you're good. But what's your attitude like? And that's also why I had such a problem with the White Sox clubhouse. Don't get me wrong. Yes, the rivalry between the Cubs and the Sox is super fun. You have a big city split down the middle. And it is fun to go back and forth. It is fun to talk shit. I am the #1 shit talking queen. I love it. It is a love language of mine. I will talk shit while I'm losing. I don't care. What I can't get behind is poor attitude, poor judgment, being a shitty teammate, being a spoiled brat out there. To me, even if you're doing great things off the field, Bryce Harper, who does do great things off the field, I will say that. I will give credit where credit is due. I don't like you. I don't like you. And so because of that, and Altuve and Carrera, I just want you guys to fucking eat crow. So anytime somebody gets a chance to knock you out, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it and we're gonna run with it and we're gonna love it. Love it. Now, here's the other side of this that we're watching. We're kind of, you're gonna find, I can almost guarantee by the end of this week, beginning of next week, another team will have clinched their division, and we'll see more of a postseason snapshot. Now, the big thing that we do need to talk about is the wild card race. And the wild card race, this is why we switched to a format that will include more shows condensed, because there may not be as many big stories like there are throughout the season, but there will be a lot of moving pieces is really what it's going to come down to. A lot of moving pieces. And I feel like nobody can see me. Can you see me now? Whoa! Whoa. That's almost too much. Maybe a little bit better? I don't know. I don't know. This stuff, this is the stuff that bothers me. If you ever want to know things that get under my skin, stuff like this, that I just feel like me just, I use my hands too much to talk for this shit. But I don't know if you can hear my music, but Tupac's Him Up just came on. It's my jam. Anyways, so the way it's working right now is we really do have to sit and focus on the stuff that I think I got it. Yeah. Hold, please. Stuff that you probably no. This would be a lot easier if it would stay sunny out longer. Maybe. Anyways, so with the playoff stuff going on, it is far more important to stay up to date on things that are happening day to day to day to day, game to game to game, series to series. That is really, what's that? Okay, this is not helping me. I got it. Hold on. You would think with all the stuff I do with social media, I'd have this figured out. I don't. It's fine. Anyways, so that's the stuff we really want to focus on anyways. So what I'm looking at is what is happening in these wild card races. And so I wrote these notes to record yesterday, and it's still holding up so far. But I'm going to keep these notes, and we're going to keep watching. Now, Tampa Bay has already kind of punched that wild card spot. The only thing that might change is if they somehow clinch the division, which I don't see that happening. They're looking at, as of right now, playing the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, I do think that would be a pretty fair matchup. That they've definitely played each other. So you kind of have to, and that's what you want to sit here and you want to say, well, how'd they do in the last time they played each other? But that doesn't matter anymore. When people are desperate, when people are looking to punch those tickets and get their invite to the show, essentially, geez Louise, one of these. Did I lose you? I lost you. All right. You know what? I'm done fucking with it. Okay. Dave's gonna kill me. It's gonna be fuck Jess by the end of this show. So if I keep messing with this light, it's just my ADHD and my OCD, guys. It's fine. It's fine. It's a me issue, not a you guys issue, clearly. So you can look at how well they did. It might be able to gather some idea, but the reality is you've got teams pushing for that postseason, and they're this close and you're competitive. So I would hope that would be your driving force going into the wild card. So if we look at it from that point, though, that Toronto and Tampa Bay, we know they played each other. So we can go back and we can, scroll through, doesn't matter who, and I can pull this all up and I could see the last time Toronto played Tampa Bay, which now, mind you, Tampa Bay and Toronto also play again at the end of this season. So if this is undetermined, if this is coming down to the wire, which it's not going to, I can tell you that right now. It's going to be interesting to see them duke it out, but that's not going to happen. So Toronto and Tampa Bay. So the last time they played each other, they had a 4-game series where Tampa Bay took it. So you do somewhat have to keep that in mind. And Tampa Bay has been strong and they have been consistent this season. So that's one aspect of it. And then they play again at the end of wait a minute. Wait a fucking minute. So as far as that goes, and then they have that last series at the end, Toronto, that would be yep. So you're looking, you ever feel like you're going absolutely crazy? Because I do. I might be wrong. I may have been talking out of my ass this whole time. The postseason. Let's look. So I might be right and I might be wrong all at the same time, y'all. Don't quote me on that. So the wild card games. Yeah, October 3rd. So, okay. I thought I was going crazy and I hate feeling that way, but you want, when I'm relaying this information to you guys, like, let's just be clear. My number one goal is to give you the most accurate, up-to-date information with my opinions in it. And everything I say is my opinion. So anyways, so Tampa Bay and Toronto are duking it out. They really, I think it's going to be Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay is going to steal that 4th spot for the American League. That's it. I don't think there's really much to talk about outside of that. It's very clear. I think Tampa Bay's got the stamina. I think Toronto kind of came to the game a little too late. And that's it. Now, when we last talked about postseason wild card games for the National League, the Cubs were far more in that talk than they are now. Now, here's where it stands. Here's your top 3 contenders. Your top 3 contenders are the Philadelphia Phillies, the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the Chicago Cubs. Chicago Cubs are half a game behind Arizona in this race, and it looks like 4 games behind Philadelphia. So let's break this down in 2 ways. We're going to break it down in the way that is like the hopeful Cubs fan in me that is forever optimistic. Then we're going to talk about reality. So let's talk about the fun stuff first, because Lord knows I need it. ideally, the Diamondbacks, even though we played them and had a horrific time playing them, the ideal, the utopia of baseball in this scenario, given these options, is that Diamondbacks fall off. They fucking blow it for the rest of the season. Cubs somehow get their heads out of their asses and go, oh, sorry, guys, we were just tired. We're good. We're back. We're showing up. We're having another great winning streak just at the right time, because that's a lot of what it is in baseball, is hitting the winning streak at the right time. You're going to have slow days. That's why it's baseball. That's why they do 3-4 game series. It is not because you need that. It's not like the NFL. You go, you play once, you play the same team twice, and that's your whole NFL season because you're playing once a week. This is acknowledging a game that you could be the best team in the league and have an off day and still get beat by the worst team in the league. And so the schedule of 162 games was built off that idea. And that being said, means that there is the potential that just because that series between Arizona and the Cubs was that bad, that even though it was that bad, does not mean that everything, like that's how the rest of the season is going to turn out. Chicago could pull their heads out of their asses. Chicago could rally up. They could go, listen, we got something to prove here. They could go, I'm sorry, I gotta sit like a child, apparently. They can really turn it around. They are still in it. They are still capable of being the team, the lovable losers that we love them to be, that come out and surprise us all the time. And that is a certain utopia of it, that the Phillies didn't have a down period in like a slump during the season, that they start slumping now. Arizona, the hard part about that is they did have a slump at a decent time in the season. And that's a thing. That's a thing with all these teams that you always want to keep in mind. The slumps are going to happen. They are going to happen. You just have to hope and strategize enough with the information that you have as a manager, as you know, these front desk guys, all of the people who are making these decisions, that your slump is well calculated for and that it comes at the appropriate time. And that's some of that is pure luck, and some of that is the analytics behind it, watching players, getting those numbers and seeing like, oh, we could see this coming, we could project. Now, you can't project human nature. And you can't project how people are going to react. Life things that occur, we know it as the regular everyday person. Things happen in life all the time that we were not anticipating, not counting on, didn't even know existed. And so there is the utopia that says, yeah, the Cubs have had multiple little slumps, but because they've just kind of broken it up instead of one long stretch, they still have an option in the next 2 weeks to pull out of it and make something happen and get to the postseason and go to the wild card. The hard thing with the wild card, though, is if you're not geared up for it, where all these other teams that have claimed their spot in postseason starting October 3rd don't have to basically play for a spot. They get a few days break. They get to relax. They get to strategize. They get to do all these things that you do not get to do if you fuck around and play around and don't calculate well. Now, I think the Cubs had an idea that this would not be their outcome and that they were just hoping, kind of what most, I think, legitimate Cubs fans were hoping for, which is, can we see some glimmer of hope? Let's see how these guys work together. Let's see who steps up as a leader. Let's see who does all these things. 1,000,000%. But they're going to have to rally it together. Now, I wouldn't be mad at any of these teams. There are no teams in these top three that I'm like, I really hope somebody fucking drops out. One of your key players is sick with the stomach flu, whatever it is. So I do think, of course, the dog, there's always something, if You're not a single parent if there's not always chaos in your house. So I wouldn't be mad at any of these. I am very proud of my Cubs and how far they have come. I am proud of what they have shown us this season. I am proud of how they've gelled together, how they've rallied behind Dansby Swanson, how they've pulled themselves out of slumps, how they have just handled themselves all season. And there hasn't been a issue with them. There hasn't really been anything that is concerning to me. Now, Utopia says they come out, Arizona falls back, the Cubs win and go to the wild card. And even beyond that, I would just be ecstatic. Anything beyond like making it to the wild card, I'm not even saying win it. Just get there. Just get there. I'd be here for it. I'd be ecstatic for it. Now, real talk. Which I think is where people probably get annoyed with Cubs fans, because a lot of them live in Utopia. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you are a Utopia only fan for your team, this is it, just Cubs fans, your team, and you're only ride or die with them when they're doing everything in your Utopia, but you can't handle the truth and the reality of how they're playing without bashing everybody. That is the number one thing I think I see that drives me insane is, as soon as a player doesn't do well, the fans, especially in the Facebook groups, go off. He must know his girl's coming inside because he's like standing at the door. He hears something. And so to sit there, that to me is still fair weather fan. And that tells me you don't know anything about baseball. You can love the Cubs, but admit that you don't know anything about baseball. You can love, I don't know, whoever your team is, the Braves, but also own when you don't know a lot about baseball. You can love a team and not know a lot about the sport. That's fine. But if you don't know a lot about the sport, sit down and shut the fuck up. That's all I'm saying. You make yourself look stupid. Because here's the thing. I am very proud of what the Cubs showed us this season. I am proud of all of that. Like I just mentioned, from how they have worked together, how they have built this team up, just everything they have done and really shown us as we are getting ready to go further. But the reality is it's a brand new team, essentially. You maybe have one or two veterans, and the rest are guys that are being forced to work together for the first time. And it takes more than one or two series into the season to figure that all out. And that's just the reality of it. You cannot expect these guys to be more human than the rest of us. They can have more talent. They are exceptionally more talented than the rest of us, but that doesn't make them more human. So what I realistically see happening is, if the Cubs do not pull themselves out of a slump, which I don't know that they will, and they're battling it out on both sides. They're battling it out for a potential divisional win for the NL Central, and they're battling it out for a spot in the wild card. And I would be happy either way. I don't see it happening. I have been wrong many a times. Ask anybody who knows me. But I don't see them pulling it out. I do see Philadelphia, or I see the Phillies, I see the Diamondbacks, and honestly, out of that one, I can tell you right now that the Phillies would probably go to the postseason, and I'm not mad about that. I'll get her in a second. But what I do want to see is them still fight, still push, and to please, by all means, get the ice while I'm on the. I think Dave the other week wanted to see me fly out. That's about as much as I fly out. B, come get your water. You don't need any more ice in that for a small cup. And stop making extra noise like you're doing. You know, if they would have told me that doing this podcast would be like this some days. I'm pretty sure somebody did, and I just didn't listen. And I went, I'm fine. I can handle it all. Like every single parent out there. But I don't think so. Again, recapping what I was saying because I just lost my train of thought and it helped me propel myself there. Cubs are not going to make it to the postseason, and I'm okay with that. I'd be okay with either Philadelphia or the Diamondbacks being in it. And that's, I because here's the deal. I've already made up in my mind, Braves are winning the NL all the way. They are taking over the National League. That is it. That's who's doing it. And I think my predictions that I've been saying all season, listen, that's the thing, right? Like everybody loves we said it probably like our second episode, and Dave would have to find it for me, that it's great and it's fun to go see home run hitters, but you want to see the consistent ones. And that is the same with this. There's been some consistent players in the MLB that we have been watching, monitoring, and I have been consistent in my picks on all of this. And so we've got some more games coming up. We've got other series that I want to watch. So we're gonna touch on that. Now, the only other thing that I want to bring up, because as of yesterday, nobody knew what was happening. And now today we know. If you didn't know, Ohtani has cleaned out his locker for the Angels. It was a big talk because nobody was addressing it, even though we all saw it happen. And Ohtani had his surgery. Ohtani, so that is going to be, that was a sad thing to hear. He did have Tommy John surgery. Well, let me take that back. Let me wind up. I know he's already had Tommy John surgery in 2018. But it looks like, as of today, they have announced that he did have an elbow procedure done, which is why he ended up clearing out his locker. He expects to play next year, and it looks like they're talking about him pitching again in 2025. And I just kind of a nod, just kind of something, I want to tip my hat off to Ohtani. We will never, I don't know that we will ever see a player in our lifetime like him. He is phenomenal. He is a superstar. He is a baseball genius. And I hate it for him. But I'm glad they kind of took that and went, listen, we're out of the running. We got nothing. Ain't nothing happening. Let's get him his surgery. Let's get him handled. Let's get him healthy. Let's start working towards next year. And that's what a lot of teams need to start doing. And I'm glad that they are doing it. So as we wrap this up, yes, Ohtani, we love you. I really wish I had gotten to see you. Hopefully I'll get to see you next season. I want nothing but the best from as much shit as we gave Duke. He's a once in a lifetime. As much baseball genius and phenomenal playmanship and just wonder that I have when it comes to watching Mike Trout, Ohtani is literally a once in a lifetime baseball player. And I can't wait to see him come back next year. So now let's wrap it up with our normal World Series picks. And those, I'm staying consistent, guys, which cannot be said for the rest of my life. Ask anybody who follows me working out or my diet, dating, none of it. But I'm getting better on some of those. One out of the three of those, not going to tell you which one. But I will tell you my World Series pick. So my World Series pick, Braves, Orioles, and I'm telling y'all right now, Braves are going to win the World Series again this year. So let's go Bravos.